Welcome back to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman. It's looking like lawmakers in Albany will not get a budget deal done by the midnight deadline tonight. They've adjourned for the day and will come back at some point over the weekend. Now, the issue of raising the age is reportedly one of the sticking points, at least in the Republican-led state Senate. New York is only one of two states that treats 16 and 17-year-olds like adults, at least as far as the criminal justice system is concerned. North Carolina is the other. There's a renewed push to raise the age so those kids will be treated as juveniles. And earlier today, Rich sat down with two people who are advocating for raising the age. Allison Lake is deputy director at Westchester Children's Association, and Kathy Davidson is a judge for the Westchester Family Court System.
Allison Lake is deputy director at Westchester Children's Association, and Kathy Davidson is a judge for the Westchester County Family Court, and they're both kind enough to give us some time. Ladies, thank you very much. First off, and we spoke a couple years ago about this, I was surprised, not only that it was just New York and North Carolina that still had this on the books, but how many kids we're talking about. Give a frame of reference to the audience. How many children fall in that gap where they're not adults, they're 16 or 17-year-olds, but they're treated like adults?
Right. So in New York State, there are about 28,000 16 and 17-year-olds that are charged as adults because we have 16 as the age of criminal responsibility. Yes, that's correct. As we speak. Yes, as we speak.
So, Your Honor, to somebody who says, you know what, kids 16-year-olds should know better, serious crimes, we should treat them like an adult. Give the compelling argument from a practical and then also, I guess, from an ethical argument why 48 states had it right.
Well, absolutely. It's clear that 16-year-olds and up are not prepared to accept the criminal responsibility from the perspective that we know that mentally and emotionally studies indicate clearly that they have not reached that maturity. And interestingly enough, historically, even though New York is one of the two states, when the Family Court Act and when the Family Court was actually voted as a family court over 55 years, it was at that time they determined that we would revisit the 16 and 18-year-olds because they figured we need more information regarding whether or not we could charge youth. So that was also always part of the plan, that this issue 55 years ago, because the Family Court was created in 1962, that we wanted to address this issue in terms of criminal responsibilities in youth under the age of 18. So this is not new to New York. It was anticipated. We're just a little late in getting back around to it.
District attorneys have told us, hey, this is going to be a problem. It's going to hurt us when it comes to plea bargaining. It's going to jam up our court systems. You know family court far better than I do. We're not prepared to deal with this. Do they have a legitimate argument?
In some ways, we already work with the district attorney's office. There are designated felonies that are most serious felonies, which would in fact mean that the respondent in a particular case could be in a secure facility. But we routinely already built into the Family Court Act as statutes will allow the district attorney's office on more serious cases to take those cases. And after they have those cases, they determine they should be transferred to the family court. They can. So we already work with the district attorney's office. Now the nuances of it would be different, obviously, but there's already a relationship there, and I think people are missing that the serious crimes are often still heard in criminal court.
And Allison, I think people are a little bit surprised, at least I was, that they're not just being tried as adults, but they're being put in with adults. Are 16 and 17-year-old kids being put in adult facilities with adult hardened criminals?
Right. Well, about a year ago, Governor Cuomo, by executive order, said that he wanted 16 and 17-year-olds removed from the state prisons, which is great and moving in the right direction. But still, in the county jails, 16 and 17-year-olds can be housed with adult criminals. So that is, just one of the sort of points that advocates really want to see change, that we would guarantee that 16 to 17-year-olds would not be housed, whether in county jails or state prisons. And I just wanted to add into what the judge was saying in terms of the family court, because the majority of crimes committed by the 16 and 17-year-olds here in Westchester County, it's about 70%. Nationally is that same kind of average. it's not about overloading the family court, because the majority of young people will be able to be diverted if it's done correctly. And what Connecticut has seen and other states that have done this is that the family court is not overloaded, because you're able to really move those sort of lower level offenses of kids pretty quickly into probation or something, or an alternative in the community.
And I think it's also important to remember that that's what we do in family court. That's what we were created for. That's why they created the family court in 1962. And the whole purpose of, more so than housing them, is the services that we can apply in family court that you can't get in criminal court.
Well, put a human face on when we're talking about numbers, whether it's the age or the grand total here, but you've seen them come through your court. You know these personal stories. Tell people at home who are talking about it, again, what we're talking about isn't just raising the age, but also raising the age as it relates to juveniles too. Absolutely. So if you could humanize this for our audience.
Interestingly enough, most recently, as yesterday, I have a juvenile delinquency part, and I had a young man before me who was, he's placed in the juvenile justice system because of beyond the control of the parent. While in care, he got into trouble over the age of 16. Now, what do? You have your pending family court. Now, this is a young man who was estranged from his mother, father not in his life. His stepfather tried to do everything he could for him. And then what we call the crossover youth, the youth that start in some part of family court, whether it's juvenile justice, criminal justice, or child welfare, and end up in the criminal justice system. What happens? That child was in the care and custody of Westchester County and placed in Dutchess County. And think of it. So we as citizens were to provide for this young man, but we didn't. So what I'm asking for is a family court chance. Let's come back and give him a chance. This young man, because you're going to spend the money anyways, and he's already in our care. So you're forgetting that we have a responsibility, this young man, because we've set these facilities saying, if you need the help, then I'm going to give you the help.
Because it's worth trying to save a kid than put him in the system. Exactly. Because you know how it's going to end.
Exactly. And we have the services. I have the ability under the Family Court Act, which you don't have in the criminal, even before we get to the dispositional phase, which is what we're talking about, because I'm still going to hold a young person responsible, and I'm going to tell them who's responsible. But I want the tools that I can do with them that you can't do in criminal court, whereby I can assign a social worker from the very beginning of the case to work with the family, to work with them, to understand why am I here, what are the problems. None of the kids want to do the things they do, but somehow they find themselves before me. So there's an opportunity to give ourselves and our citizens another chance.
Same thing for you. Put a face on this for the people who don't know who we're talking about.
We've worked, and last time that we were here, there was a young man who had come through the Youth Shelter of Westchester, which is an alternative to incarceration program for young men here in Westchester. And just last month, these young men traveled with us up to Albany to talk about raise the age with elected officials. And as you said, it's the face. When you see a young person who's saying, you know what, I made a mistake, I did something, but I'm now getting some help, I'm getting some education, getting perhaps, help with anger management, understanding that there's different opportunities out there. And these were their own words that they were sharing to say that, I appreciate the second chance and that they want to make the most of it. And so as advocates, we're hoping that with this raise the age legislation, as many young people as possible can come through family court so that they have those second chance opportunities to really turn their lives around.
Makes sense to me. Allison Lake, Judge, thank you both very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.